All right, the title of this vodcast is Water Chemistry, so please write that as your heading in your notebook. First two ideas we're going to start with have to do with things that we've already discussed in class, so I'm going to go over them pretty quickly, but if you need to draw these diagrams in your notebook to help you remind yourself, please do that. We've got two examples of water molecules here, one on the left, one on the right. The one on the left actually shows the electrons, so I'm going to start with that. Remember from our discussion about electronegativity in class, we said that oxygen is a very electronegative atom, which means it pulls electrons to it. It's that electron bully. So we can see all those blue electrons circling around oxygen. They are shared with hydrogens in a water molecule, but they spend most of their time around oxygen, giving it overall this negative charge here. Okay, so that end of the molecule is negative, whereas the other end, where the hydrogens are, is positive. And because we have that separation of charges, negative on one side, positive on the other, we call water a polar molecule. Kind of like a magnet has two poles, right? North and south pole, or positive and negative end. Water molecule has the same thing going on. This diagram over here on the right side is showing the same thing. So we've got our oxygen in the middle, which has a negative charge, and the hydrogens on the sides, which each have a more positive charge. The electrons again getting pulled more than likely toward the oxygen atom. Alright, the second thing we need to review from class is the fact that this polarity of the water molecule allows it to form hydrogen bonds. So if we think about those positives and negatives again, remember all of our oxygens have a negative charge, so I'm going to mark those that are involved, and all our hydrogens have a positive charge, so I'm going to mark those that are involved here as well. The positives attract the negatives, which creates these bonds between those positive and negative areas. So water molecules will arrange themselves in a formation that allows the negative charged oxygens to interact with the positively charged hydrogens. And because of that, whenever you have a bunch of water molecules together, you get some special properties forming from these hydrogen bonds that are holding them all together. And that's what we're going to look at next. So these special properties of water, you don't have to write down in a list right now because we're going to go through each one of them individually. But a lot of these are due to the fact that water is polar and water has the ability to form hydrogen bonds. And you'll see that in the end, the reason we study these in biology is they're really important to living things and keeping us alive for that matter. So we'll go through each one of these individually now. First one is cohesion. Okay, if something is really cohesive, that means it stays together, sticks together like a cohesive group or a cohesive team. So what cohesion refers to in the case of water is the attraction of water to other types of other water molecules. So the ability for water molecules to stick together. And why do they stick together again? It's because of these hydrogen bonds. The result of this is called something called surface tension. And you can see that down here in this picture of this water strider. Okay, we've got like kind of almost a film on top of the water that this water strider can actually stand on. That's our surface tension of the water. Okay, those water molecules are all joined together with those hydrogen bonds, almost forming like a layer on the top of the water that some organisms can actually use as a surface. And again, where does this come from? That hydrogen bonding between the water molecules is what creates this surface tension. So two water molecules attracted to each other is called cohesion. Sometimes causes this bubbling up. You know, if you put a drop of water on a table and it forms this little dome. Okay, that's because of cohesion. Again, this results in surface tension, which all comes back to that hydrogen bonding. Okay, the second property of water is called adhesion. And the two of them sound very similar, so you got to make sure to keep them straight in your head. While cohesion is the water molecules sticking together, adhesion is the attraction of water to other substances. Okay, so water molecule sticking to something else. The example that's shown in this picture, for example, is the idea that water can stick to other surfaces. You've had this problem if you've ever been driving in the rain, right? And the raindrops stick to your windshield. That is adhesion. Sticks to plants, for example, also adhesion. Again, it always comes back to this hydrogen bonding. So if the water molecule has positive and negative charges, and it is interacting with other polar molecules, so there's other polar molecules, for example, on the surface of the glass of your car, there's positive and negative charges. On the surface of a leaf, there's positive and negative charges. Water will stick to those positive and negative charges as well. So again, that's called adhesion. Third type of property of water is called capillary action, and really it's a combination of cohesion and adhesion. So if you've ever done this before, maybe at a restaurant or something, when you've got a straw, you stick a straw down into water, the water is going to kind of rise up in the straw a little bit. That's capillary action. Same thing they're showing here in this little middle example. Okay, is if you put like celery or a white carnation into blue food coloring, the leaves of the celery will turn blue, the flower petals will turn blue because that water is drawn up again through the stem, just like it would be through a straw. And then the final example over here is this tree. Capillary action is part of the way plants get water from their roots up against gravity into the rest of the plant. Okay, then that capillary action draws it up. Okay, again, it's a combination of adhesion, cohesion, and capillary action. The adhesion, remember, is the ability of water to stick to something else. So the water can stick to, for example, the sides of the stem of the plant, but it can also stick to other water molecules. That's cohesion. So the water molecules stick together as well as sticking to the sides of the plant, which allows them to climb up the plant in the case of moving from roots to the stem.